What is the most effective way to learn a language? Of course, I think that the most effective thing to do is to move to a country in which the language is spoken. Preferably, you would live with a family that doesn't speak your original language, so you're forced to speak the new language. Doing this would mean that you're speaking the new language like 8 to 10 hours per day, and of course, that's the most effective way to reach fluency. But if you're anything like me, you wanted to at least reach a decent level before doing something like moving to a new country and throwing yourself right into the deep end. So that leaves us in the situation where you're learning a new language from your original country. Some gurus say you should do lessons straight away and try and speak. Some people say you should just read. Some people say you should watch TV series. In my opinion, all of those are correct and incorrect in a certain way. All of those methods work, but not by themselves. I wouldn't suggest for you to just turn on Netflix and start watching a series because it's going to go straight over your head. I also wouldn't suggest for you to listen to a podcast in Spanish in the beginning because, again, it's going to go over your head. I also wouldn't suggest for you to pick up a grammar book and try and start learning a language through a book because it's going to be extremely boring, super slow, and you're going to get to fluency in terms of grammar, but not in actual communication. So what's the method that I personally recommend and what I used to reach fluency? Split your practice time into thirds. So 33% of the time, practice listening, 33% of the time, practice speaking, and 33% of the time, practice grammar. On top of that, if you want to be really, really effective, only learn one thing at a time across all three parts of your learning. So when it comes to grammar, just learn subject pronouns. Then with your listening, just practice listening to subject pronouns. And then when you have a lesson or you're speaking to somebody in your new language, just try and use pronouns as much as possible and focus all of your attention on one part of the language until you've really conquered it. What I did in the beginning wasted so much time. I tried to do listening and speaking and grammar, but I was chopping and changing between all these different things and trying to learn like animals and colors in my Spanish lessons, but then trying to learn pronouns in my theory lessons, and then trying to listen to a podcast about something that has nothing to do with anything. And so I was chopping and changing for the first 6 to 10 months and nothing really clicked in my brain. Looking back, it would have been so much more effective to have just picked one part of the Spanish language, for example, pronouns, or for example, conjugation, and just stuck with that and focused all of my attention when it comes to theory, just pronouns. Then when it comes to listening, just trying to listen to stories that involve a lot of pronouns. And then when it comes to my lesson, just trying to speak with stories that use pronouns and get the teacher to test me with the pronouns, etc. Now, as that's my theory, if that makes any sense to you, then you should check out my course, 0 to 1000 Spanish Words Real Quick. In that course, you have 14 levels, which will teach you the grammar through a video. One of the benefits of learning Spanish from somebody like me is that I come from the same headspace as you if you're an English speaker. I know how to explain really complicated Spanish grammar to an English speaker's brain in a matter of a couple of minutes that took me months to learn from things like YouTube and lessons. The first thing to do is you have the video that explains the grammar, and then you get given 100 examples using that grammar in different contexts. So for example, pronouns, we work on the pronouns, which is yo, tú, usted, ustedes, nosotros, vosotros, etc. And then you get 100 examples that use English and then Spanish, and there's a word missing, and then you have to fill in that word. This means that all of your focus when it comes to your theory sessions is on one thing at a time. You also get given audio for it with a native speaker in both English and Spanish. So you're practicing your listening skills specifically on the grammar that you're working on. Then when you have a lesson, whether it's with me or whether it's with somebody else, you can tell them that this is what you're working on, and you can give them the examples, and you guys can work on that specific thing in your lesson. So again, if you really want to fast track your effectiveness in learning Spanish, I would split your practice time into thirds. 1/3 theory, 1/3 listening, and 1/3 speaking. And then with my course, it makes that process as simple as possible because you have the lesson, you have the examples, and then you can book lessons.